everyone, my name is Westy. Welcome to Mixed Palette Yoga. And today we're going to do a Yin Yoga class. And the theme today is Aparigraha, which is one of the philosophies within the 8 limbs of yoga that has to do with how you treat others and how you treat the world around you. And it stands for non-grasping or not holding on to, or as Elsa would say, letting go. Ready to get going? Before you get started, make sure that you are warm enough and you are in a place that is free of distractions, a place that is warm enough for you, and you're going to need some props. I have blocks, I have blankets, I have a pillow. Props are a great thing in Yin Yoga, and I'm all for them. So make sure, if you need to turn off the video, make sure that you have all these things set up, and then when you're ready, let's get started. Meet me right here on the mat in a comfy seated position. And I like to suggest, for more comfort, that you actually are sitting on a blanket so that your bum is a little higher than where your ankles are on the floor. And just go ahead and rest your hands wherever they feel good, on your knees, in your lap. And if it feels good, go ahead and shut your eyes and just start focusing on your breath here. And just notice how you're breathing. There's no right or wrong here. It's just taking note of your inhales and your exhales. Seeing how deeply you can draw breath in. And taking this moment right now to remember that our breath in any style of yoga, our breath is always where the focus begins. And our breath is kind of like our anchor. So whenever you feel your mind start to wander, just reel it back in with your breath. Focus on that beautiful inhalation and exhalation. So Aparigraha, non-grasping, is all about not taking more than you need. And we can be talking mentally, and we can be talking physically. Not holding on to stuff. Again, we can be talking about what's in our mind, what's being held in all our joints and our muscles in our body, or we could be talking about clutter in our house. However you want to take it. Aparigraha is something that reminds us that we don't necessarily find joy in holding on to things. And there's a freedom in letting go. So with that in mind, let's get started. Go ahead and blink your eyes open. We're going to start off just in a seated staff pose, your legs extended out in front of you, and you will notice I'm not a very flexy girl, so I always have a bend in my knees. That is perfectly okay if your legs aren't straight. And if this is a little bit uncomfortable, feel free to take a towel or a blanket and roll it up and stick it right there under your knees for just a little support. So while we're here on an inhale, picture extending the crown of your head more towards the ceiling. And as your head extends, your spine grows straighter. And what we're going to do right here is we're going to start rolling out our wrists. Any direction you want, slowly, not being alarmed by any popping and crackling noises that might happen. That's just our joints opening up and finding space. Whatever direction you're going right now, go ahead and reverse that. Make your wrists roll the other direction. And now you're going to take your ankles and you're going to do the same thing. So just while you're sitting here, you can maybe just do do one at a time so you can concentrate. So let's start with the right ankle and just roll it clockwise, not too fast, and then counterclockwise. And let's do the left foot, one direction, and then the other direction. This is just getting us warmed up. Yin Yoga is all about being gentle and mindful with our bodies and really getting into the joints. When we do regular yoga, as I call it, it's called Yang Yoga. So the opposite of Yang is Yin. Yang tissues that we work on are the muscles, but when we work on Yin Yoga, we're working on our ligaments and our joint capsules. And Yin Yoga opens them up to their safest capacity. And as we move between poses, take your time. We are not in a rush. So move mindfully whenever we go from one pose to the other. Right now we're coming into tabletop. And you're going to see I always put a mat under my knees. And also if you have, as you come into tabletop, your shoulders are going to be right over your wrists. If your wrists aren't real happy with that, go ahead and make fists, or there's various things you can use, yoga wedges or handles that put your hand in a different direction. I encourage you to seek those out if your wrists aren't happy doing this. So right here from tabletop position, we're going to just start moving our spine in all the directions it can move. So first, take a look towards your left as if you could look at your left hip. Picture your whole body kind of curving in a C. And breathe here. And then come on back and look back at your right hip. Curve your body in a C towards the right. Take a couple breaths. And then we're going to move through cat and cow, which you are probably familiar with. As you inhale, your gaze comes up and your belly heads towards earth. And as you exhale, your gaze comes down and your back goes towards the ceiling. Inhale, ride the wave back up. Exhale, curve your spine. Now on your own breath, keep going with this gentle wave-like motion. And again, my spine isn't very flexy, so it might not look like I'm doing much, but we all do what we can. Make this undulation yours. You could even start moving your chest lower to the ground on your inhale, and on your exhale, moving through. Just a little dance here with your spine. Whatever feels good. We're going to do 3 more. Inhales and exhales. And then when you're ready, come on back to neutral or center here. And now we're going to inhale our right leg up so it's parallel to the floor. So think about what you have to engage to hold it here. Inhale, exhale, bring your knee to your nose. You're going to arch your back a little as you do this. And then inhale, extend that leg again, lift your head a little. Exhale, knee to nose again. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee to nose. And set that knee down. Let's do the left side. So left leg up parallel to the ground. Inhale, exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, extend. Just warming it up here, folks. And one more. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee to nose. And come on down to neutral. If you're like me and your wrists are a little unhappy, go ahead and keep rolling them out a little bit. Now we're going to move to actually the only standing pose today, and we're not even really going to be standing. We're going to come into a forward dangle. And now we're going to start to hold our poses a little longer. So I encourage you to find a forward fold that works for you. Go ahead and let those knees really bend. Have your feet far enough apart so that all your body stuff can just hang between your knees. Your head grows heavy. Hands can be on the floor. Hands could be on blocks. And now come back to your breath. This is a wonderful pose because it's comforting, where everything's protected. The whole front of our body is curled inward here, but we're stretching the whole back side of our body. So the way Yin Yoga works, there's 3 stages for each pose. The first stage is to find your edge. So you want to be feeling something, but you don't want to be feeling too much. Find your edge. Second stage, commit to being still right where you are. Third stage is to start looking for some kind of opening, a release, a letting go. It might be the tiniest little letting go, or you might be surprised and it might be rather large. So for example, in this forward fold, as we stand here and breathe, if you feel a beautiful release in the back of your legs and feel like straightening them a little more, absolutely go for that. So Yin Yoga is not restorative yoga. It takes effort, and it can get intense sometimes. You have to do the work. But boy, is it good stuff. My yoga instructor used to say, the juice is worth the squeeze. Keep breathing here. Few more breaths. Enjoying this inversion. And now we're going to come up just to a flat back sort of here. Keep your hands on the floor, put your hands on your shins, just kind of come up for some air. Tick-tock your feet as wide as your mat. We're going to come down just gently into a squat. Now I know squats aren't for everyone. If you need to put a block or 2 underneath you to support you, absolutely do that. If you can't do this because your knees are not loving it, go ahead and just come down onto the floor. If you're here in the squat, press your palms together and use your elbows to just push your legs apart a little bit. In Yin Yoga, I like to say, if you're feeling it, you're doing it. So this squat pose, we're not going to hold as long because it's just a little counter pose to the last thing that we did. Breathing, imagining our breath going right down into where our groins are opening up here, our inner thighs. And then slowly, we're going to come out of Malasana. If you were using a prop, go ahead and get rid of that. And we're going to come right back down to seated like we started, only we're going to be in butterfly pose. So in butterfly pose, we draw the soles of our feet together. And just draw your heels as close to your crotch as is comfortable. And you can either grab your ankles or your toesies here. And we're going to start with some movement. We're going to move our torso in a clockwise position. I seem to be sitting on the creakiest part of my floor here. So we're just moving our torso around clockwise. Now we're moving it counterclockwise. And then when you're ready, here we go with the hold. So find your comfortable place with your hands. Take a nice big inhale up tall and then lean forward. Picture bringing your nose beyond your toes. Some of you might actually lay your chest down on your feet, and some of us might only move a couple inches. Remember, that's okay. We're all different. So breathe deep, and again, find your edge. Where are you feeling something? In your thighs, in your hips. Find that edge and commit to staying right there in stillness. And as we breathe, we will look for an opening. Remember, letting go is a beautiful kind of freedom. We, especially in our Western culture, have such a, what's the word I want? Our instinct is to always hold on to things, and especially when times are rough, and I would say times have been kind of rough. We have an instinct to hold on tighter and tighter to stuff. And that doesn't always benefit us. It doesn't benefit us physically or mentally. So turning to yoga to help us go inward and maybe get rid of some of the clutter and get rid of some of the stuff is a wonderful healing thing to do. Still breathing. Maybe as you get into this, you can lean a little bit farther forward. Enjoy the stillness and the quiet. Know that you are bringing medicine into your joints right now. Allowing your sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system to chill out. Put a stop to the fight or flight mode and just let your body take care of itself. All right, on your next exhale, just slowly start sitting up. Go ahead and extend your feet out in front of you, knees still bent up. It might feel good right here to just put your hands behind you and do a little gentle windshield wiper, as I call it. Bring both knees to the right, both knees to the left. Just back and forth a couple times. Remember, we're not in a hurry. And Yin Yoga is such delicious stuff, but sometimes it can make us feel really tired and old for a while. So just honor that. We're coming onto our knees again here. Here I go with my blanket for my crunchy old knees. We're going to come into a pose called Melting Heart. You might know it as puppy dog pose from regular yoga. So we're starting in tabletop with our bum right up in the air. Knees are a nice, comfortable distance apart. And we're crawling our hands out a little bit. Crawling, crawling, crawling. And depending on how flexy you are, you might get your chest on the ground. You might get your chin on the ground. You might want to put a block right here under your forehead. Again, use props to make yourself comfortable here.
The point of this pose is a beautiful underarm stretch and a beautiful expansion of our spine. Picture a beautiful curve in your spine here. Find your stillness. And remember, as your body lets go, you can crawl your hands out a little more each breath. Sinking into the mat. What Yin Yoga does for us is it gets right in our ligaments, and it actually even helps our joints lubricate. It helps produce hyaluronic acid, which is what we need to keep our joints moving. And a lot of us who are getting older are feeling stiffer, and that's because we have less lubrication in our joints. So guess what? Yin Yoga is the stuff we need. So do the best you can. Same comments as I always make in my other yoga classes. Don't worry about what someone else looks like. Worry about how you feel. If you're feeling something, you're doing it right. If you're feeling too much, back off. Yin Yoga, as I said, can be intense, but it should not be painful. Keep breathing into those armpits and your sides, stretching out a little more. I always feel like a contortionist when I'm trying to do this pose. And on your next exhale, you just come forward onto your forearms and start walking them back. Take your time. And stay right here on your knees, because the next pose we're going to do is a child's pose. And I want to talk about how you can modify child's pose, because some people find it restful and other people find it to be tortuous. So let's see if we can make it comfortable for everybody. You're going to have your knees spread as wide as the mat. And again, if your knees need something soft under them, put it there. You could also put a rolled up, this is probably too much for me, but a rolled up blanket or towel under your ankles. If the tops of your feet aren't real comfortable being mushed into the floor, there's all kinds of things you can do there. If this is too much compression on your knees, go ahead and put either another rolled up towel, and now I think I'm not going to use a pillow because it's too much, but you can put a rolled up yoga blanket or towel right here behind your knees, between your calves and your thighs, so that there's not such a crunch going on, all right? So take the time to make this work for you. I don't want you to be in a yoga pose for 2 minutes, just, can't wait till I get out of it, right? So we're going to take child's pose, walking your hands out, but we're going to do it with a little twist. We're actually going to walk both our hands over to the left side. Come on down to your forearms, and so your right hand is far out beyond your left hand. Your forehead can actually come right down onto your left forearm. So you should be so far to the left side with your upper body that you're feeling a stretch all along the sides of your right rib cage. And breathe. And here we are, giving our joints some good compression. Yin Yoga is about giving good compression to our joints in a way that is not harmful, in a way that actually stretches them, stretches our ligaments, gives them a little medicine, we don't necessarily do in our day-to-day life. So you're breathing new life and energy right now into your knees, into your hip sockets, your rib cage. Letting go of tension. So do a quick little body scan as you are here. Where might you be holding some tension right now? Let it go. Maybe you're clenching in your hips a little bit. Maybe you're clenching in your knees. Don't hold on to all of that. So take one more delicious, big, juicy inhale here. And then as you exhale, we're just going to come up to our forearms and we're going to crawl over to the right side. So my hands have come all the way off the mat. My left hand is way up here in front of my right hand. And my forehead is going to come right down on my right forearm. My bum is sitting back as far as I can. I got this nice blanket behind my knees because my knees haven't been happy lately. So remember to always honor your body where it's at. Do what you can. And just because someone's more flexible doesn't mean they're doing it better than you. It just means they have farther to go before they find their edge. So stretch that left side, reach that left hand as far away as you can. Find your edge here. Push your bum back towards your heels and commit to the stillness. We are uncluttering our joints here. And as usual, the yoga poses allow us to get into our mind. And as we use a pose to bring body and mind together, we can unclutter both of them at the same time and enjoy that free space, that freedom. Little body scan here. What are you gripping? What are you holding on to? Make sure that though your left hand is reaching, that it's relaxed. Give your thighs permission to let go here. Keep breathing. And take one last beautiful inhale here, way down into your hips. And on your exhale, start to push yourself up. Don't come up too fast. Get rid of any props that you don't need. And we're going to come back to seated. So I'm putting my folded up blanket right there. I find that a folded blanket underneath my bum really helps my pelvis tilt in the right direction when I'm doing these poses. So we're going to come into something called shoelace. And again, there are options depending on how your body's feeling today. So let's start with your left heel going over here underneath your right thigh. And your foot is facing towards the right. Now we're going to bring our right heel up and over, stacking our knees. So this is doing both at once. If this is too much for you, go ahead and straighten that left leg and just have your right leg up and over. And like I said before, perfectly okay to put a block or a blanket under that left knee if it needs support, all right? So I'm going for both. And see how your ankles stick out like shoelaces here.
So right here, just grab a hold of your ankles and take a moment to settle your sit bones and try to make them equal. We have a tendency to be leaning way over here with our right sit bone coming up in the air, or at least I have a tendency to do that. Take a great big breath, extend the crown of your head towards the ceiling, and then bring that length forward. Walk your hands forward. You're aiming your nose beyond your knee. If you're flexi, you might lay your chest right over your knee. If you're like me, you're up here somewhere. Wherever you're at, draw your attention to your hips, especially the outside of your right hip. Find your groove there, find your edge. Breathe into it. And start to just commit to that stillness and wait for some kind of opening. So remember I said yin is not necessarily always gentle. It can be really intense. And if you are tight in your hips, this is a pose that can be really intense physically and emotionally. So don't be surprised if stuff comes up, and that's okay. That's what yoga is all about. Stuff and focus. Remember to breathe and remember to give your body permission to relax. Bring all your focus internal right now. Internally focus on those hips, a little on your knees. If you have found an opening, go ahead and crawl your fingers forward just a little more. Smile a little with the lightness of being here, the lightness of uncluttering, of ungrasping, of letting go. Remembering that what we learn on the mat are always lessons that we can take off into real life. So if you unclutter here, if you let go here, how might you bring that into the rest of your life? Take a great big inhale right here. And on your exhale, crawl those hands forward. And we're going to switch sides. So just take it slow. Maybe extend your legs and roll your ankles a little bit here. Move around a little if your body says please do that. And now we're going to take our right ankle underneath left thigh, left heel up and over. If you're doing this with one straight leg, you're going to have your right leg straight out in front of you and your left foot crossed up and over. Whichever version works for you. Let's get those sit bones squared away. Oh, just grab your heels for a minute, your shoelaces. And inhale, breathe, crown of head towards ceiling. Exhale, drape your torso over your knees as much as you can and walk your hands forward. Find your groove, and hey, don't be surprised if one hip is drastically different from the other. Our bodies are some very complicated architecture, and one side is usually different than the other. As we're doing this yin yoga and focusing internally, think about we've turned off a little bit our fight or flight instinct. So our heart rate is slowing down. Our digestion is working better than ever. Our organs are working better, more clearly. Good stuff, as I say. Keep breathing. Give your hips permission to relax. Crawl those hands out a little. We're still breathing nice and deep down into those hips. And finding that edge is so important because you can't really practice letting go until you find that edge, right? One more big inhale here. Exhale. And just ever so slowly start to crawl back up. Extend your legs out in front of you. Straighten one at a time or both. And now we're going to come to a supine, a lying down position. So if you had something under your bum, we don't need that anymore. We're going to work on a twist. Yummy stuff for our lower back. I know a lot of people who have been shoveling snow who could use that. Right here as you go to lie on your back, if it just feels natural and good to hug your knees for a minute, go ahead and do that. And if it feels good to rock back and forth a little, you got it. Now, touch your toes down, feet flat on the mat, knees bent. Spread your arms out like wings. And tip both knees towards the right. And if it works for you, gaze towards your left, out at your left hand. If this is too much for you, go ahead and put a blanket or a block underneath your knees to hold them up a little bit. Make sure both your shoulders are relaxed and are in contact with the ground. You can mess around with exactly where your feet are until you find that edge, that big, delicious twist running from your sacrum, your low back, all the way up through your cervical vertebrae if you're turning your gaze. I like to picture a great big washcloth being wrung out here because that's kind of how it feels. We're wringing out our spine. Breathe so deep. Imagine your breath going way down in the base of that spine. And as you exhale, let go. Imagine the toxins that we hold in our joints just being washed away as we do this Yin Yoga. Imagine all your vertebrae and all the joints we've worked on finding a little more movement, a little more juice in their lubrication. Oh, they are thanking you now. Couple more big breaths here. Allow your breaths to be so deep and lovely that they move your rib cage, they move your belly. And to come out, start by turning your neck and gazing back up. You can use your hand to bring your knees back to center if you need to. Take a second to make sure hips and knees and feet are centered on the mat again. Reach your arms out like wings again, and now we're going to tip knees to the left. And again, if you need a pillow or a block right under that left knee, please do so. And go ahead and roll your gaze to the right. So we're twisting our spine, wringing that washcloth completely in the other direction now. Draw your awareness to your low back. Find your little edge and sink in. Let all of you sink in to the pose, to the mat. Let yourself sink in mentally to the idea of non-grasping and letting go. If any part of you is not happy with this position, if any part of you is feeling pain, knees for example, go ahead and adjust things until you are where you're comfortable. Yin Yoga is not about pain. It's about intensity, yes, but not pain. Give your shoulders right here permission to relax. Remember how I talked about there's always some place where we're still holding on in real life and also in a pose, in an asana. We're always holding on to something. We're afraid to let that last little bit go. And we have to trust. We have to let go. Letting go of stuff gives you the freedom to see what's on the other side. Couple more breaths right here. And as you're ready, head comes centered, knees come centered. And if you have the urge to sneak your hands inside your knees, up, grab your feet for a little happy baby, you do that. Go ahead and pull gently down on your feet here, rock back and forth a little bit, just a couple times. And place your feet back on the mat. We're getting ready for Shavasana, final resting pose. So for sure, if you've gotten cold, put your socks back on, put your sweater back on. If you would like a bolster under your knees, go ahead and do that. Eye pillows, the whole 9 yards. When you're ready, allow your feet to flop open. Palms are facing up, down by your hips. And here we go. Your breath will continue to do whatever feels good. And here is where we really reap the rewards of all the poses that we just did, all the rinsing and squeezing that we just did. Right now, your body, your temple, is enjoying the fruits of that labor. Your joints are opened up. Your organs are working a little better. Your heart is slowed down. And everything is getting a very well-deserved rest. So let's just scan and give everything permission to relax and melt. Start with your feet. Move your awareness up through your knees into your hips. Make sure everything has really let go. Now do the same with your arms, starting with your hands, your fingers. Make sure they've let go. Up through your elbows, up through your shoulders, into your chest. Breathe into all that relaxation. Feel your belly drop towards the earth. And then draw your awareness towards your face, your mouth, your tongue, your eyes, your eye crinkles, and the middle of your forehead. Allow it all to just relax. Not grasping at anything, not holding on to anything, just letting go. And always remember that your breath is your anchor. So if thoughts try to intrude right now, if thoughts come marching back in, just focus on your breath for a couple more minutes. In life, not in video, you can lay in Shavasana for as long as you possibly want to. But for purposes of a video, I will lead you out. Starting slowly, little movements in your fingers and your toes, just like you were little sea creatures starting to move with the water. And then turn those moves into a little bit bigger ones, just like we started class. Ankles and wrists. If you hear popping and cracking, it's absolutely normal. Opening up space, and then when you're ready, take a great big full body stretch. Oh, hands overhead, toes pointing. And then bring your left foot to the floor and just use it as leverage to roll yourself over onto your right side. And you go ahead and stay there a minute or two. And when you're ready, come on up to a seated position, just like we started in. Cross your ankles. Keep your eyes shut if that feels good to you. And I invite you to just bring your hands palm to palm at heart center, bringing some energy there, connecting right and left sides of the brain. Bring a smile to your lips as you just circle your awareness around your body and see how you're feeling. Yin Yoga can often leave you feeling a little old in the joints, a little slow, but it also can leave you feeling very euphoric. So honor however you're feeling. Take the time when you are done here to move slowly and mindfully. Don't go run a marathon just yet. Allow your body to revel in what we just did. May the rest of your day be fantastic. I'm so glad you were here with me. The light in me bows to the light in all of you. Namaste. Thank you.